Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today's video I'm going to talk about my running training at the moment. So it's been alright, it's August now. June wasn't too good, but July I've started to up the miles a little bit. So I'm starting to get back into it. I've done a couple of 5k runs, park runs. The first two were on a holiday in Devon. So I went on the website, searched for the closest ones, and there was, I think, 3 or 4 which were quite close to where I was staying. The one of them was just a flat route around a park in on a coast, so just up and down a really flat route, so that's a bit boring. Another one had the word hill in the title, so that doesn't sound too good, so I didn't go to that one. So I went to the one which is closest, about 15-20 minute drive away, and I read the description, and it was a hill as well. There was 2 big hills. So you start off, you went really fast down this little, maybe 200 meter stretch, turned the corner and went up straight away. The people there who described it at the beginning said it was hilly, but I thought, I'm from Wales, it can't be much hillier than Wales, but it's a bit of a shock when you don't know the route. It wasn't as steep or as long or as bad as the hills around where I live, but on a 3 mile run, it's quite hilly. So a bit of an uphill, then it went down, a bit of a flat, up a second hill, and then down again, so a bit cheeky. So I didn't get a personal record, personal best, or personal park run time, but I did it again the next Saturday, and I decided to go slower, and I went faster. Because what I did was, instead of the first mile going as fast as I can, second mile struggling, third mile crawling across the line, what I did was on purpose, I aimed to beat myself by about 10 seconds. I didn't think you can knock off too much time in just 7 days. So I thought, well, if the first mile I go slow on purpose, even if people are overtaking me, it's not the same people as last week, and I don't even know who these people are either. So you don't race against somebody else, you just race against yourself. So on purpose, I kept myself back a little bit. I knew there's a hill coming up. Then I knew there was going to be downhill, and then it's the second hill. So I saved my energy. So the second time I did it, I kept a better average pace, and I attacked the hills a little bit easier. But then in the finishing line, I didn't feel like I was dying when I crossed the line. I felt like I had a bit of a sprint finish. And it worked because I was faster than the week before. Not last Saturday, I think it was the Saturday before that, I did my local 5k run again, the park run. I've done that twice before, but the first time I did that was in, I think, September, October last year, and then again in October, maybe November last year. So it's been a good few months since I did that. I know the route, I know I can run 5k, but I didn't know how fast I could run the 5k. It's quite a flat route with a couple of slight gradient, little uphill, little bits. I won't call them a hill, but it is an uphill, slightly. So it's hard to pace yourself. So I didn't try and beat my personal best on that. I just thought, well, as long as I beat my last park run time, I'll be happy, and I did. So I've been asked to join, it's a race, but do I want to race? I've been asked, do I want to do it? And I said, yeah. There's a half marathon in September, which is now about 6 or 7 weeks away. So I'm not completely new, but I haven't done a half marathon for, what are we in now? August. The last time I did it might have been, I might have done one in January or February. If it wasn't that, it might have been August or September last year. So I haven't run half marathon for quite a long time, as in months and months. But I do feel quite fit. My running times at the moment aren't personal bests. I have been fitter. About this time last year, I was running maybe a minute a mile faster on my 10k runs and stuff. A little bit heavier than what I was this time last year. Also a year older. So my VO2 max and my Garmin fitness age and things like that do say I'm a little bit behind what I was last year, more than a year older. but I feel good. I'm feeling in a good place. This time last year, I knew I had bad shins because I was training for the marathon before my birthday. I did the Cross Wales walk, which is a 50-mile walk in the June or July. So August last year, I was struggling, and I actually struggled till maybe January or February this year because of my knees and my hips and my shins, and I had a few injuries. And then I've been busy doing my house maintenance because I bought a new house. So I've been busy. Fitness in the last couple of months hasn't been priority. So the amount of hours or miles or intensity minutes I've done hasn't been up there. It's been just ticking over a little bit here, a little bit there. No sort of plan or anything. So why did I decide to do a half marathon run in September if I'm not trained for it yet? Well, because it's something to aim for. I know I can do half marathon. If I went out and did it now, I could probably do 13 miles today. Wouldn't be a record, but I could do it if I'm slow enough. So with a couple of weeks, it's not quite 2 months of training, I could improve quite a bit to get a decentish time. So how am I planning my plan? What have I done? So I think really with marathons, half marathons, unless you do them all the time, it's quite hard to, it's a guess, it's a guess. You need to have some baseline figures to start you off with to see where you are now and then what your goal is going to be. But your goal pace is going to be a guess, because you could say, I want to run it in an hour and a half. It doesn't mean you can do that. Just because you've done a 12-week training plan, it doesn't mean you're going to do what the plan says you want to do. So you've got to be realistic, really, and choose a decent plan, a decent goal. So I have done a personal best, which was about 2 years ago, 24th of July, 2 years ago, 1 hour, 49 minutes. I was 180.2 pounds, and that works out at 8 minutes, 16 per mile. The route on that one started off at the top of a hill, and I know the first mile, it's downhill. So I remember what I did was I went flat out down this hill. So I wasn't doing 8 minutes a mile, I was doing something like 6 or 7 minutes per mile downhill. By the time I got to the bottom of the hill and I joined where the canal is, I was a good minute or two ahead of pace. So for the rest of the run, as long as I do about 10 seconds slower than that, I was already okay, because I was at least 60, maybe 120 minutes ahead. So I had a bit of wiggle room to play with. The track, like I said, it's a canal, and it's not like you imagine in some cities where it's a nice tarmac with lights and smooth and wide. This canal, it's gravelly. It is slightly uphill, because everyone thinks that canals are dead flat, but they're not. They do decline slightly, and then you have a lock when there's a big decline. But there is a slight incline over the 12 or so miles. And there is a couple of places where there is like a steep hill where the path runs alongside a lock. So it goes incline, up a hill, incline, up a hill, a bit of flat for a couple of miles, but basically it is uphill all the way. I have done this run as well from the other side to that side, and it is slower, because even though you're running downhill for 12 miles, you've got that really hard hill uphill, and that last mile or so uphill after running 12 miles, it's more than the 2 minutes. Like if you run down it, you can run 6 minute miles down and you're gaining 2 minutes. When you're running uphill, you're going to run it really slow. If not, I think there's a walking part of it, because it's so hilly, and if it's wet, you just wheel spin. So I think that might take you 5 minutes up. So you lose 3 minutes because of that. And you're not really going to gain 3 minutes on this slow decline. So that is definitely the fastest way to do it. I've done it both ways. I've also done it from there to halfway and back, which is downhill, turn around and back uphill. You don't want to do it from that end, because you've got the downhill, up, downhill, up. So that's my personal best 2 years ago. At the minute, I'm about 185 pounds, so a little bit heavier. In 2 months of training, I can maybe get myself down to about 178 pounds. I don't want to starve myself too much because I need energy for the training, but if I burn 500 calories a day, averaging a couple of pounds, that's reasonable. That's okay. If I keep myself a clean diet, eat healthy, that should be all right. Because obviously my training is going to go further and further and further, faster. So a couple of pounds, that might be right, but you don't have to lose that much weight. The race day is on the 28th of September, so I've got a couple more weeks yet. And I want to do it, I'm going to say, as long as I do it a minute quicker than my personal best, well then I'm happy. So instead of 8:16 a mile, it's 8:15 a mile. Is it doable? Well, that race there wasn't a race, it was by myself. It was on an incline, on gravel, which saps your energy a little bit. This one is going to be, I don't know. I've seen the route on the map, but I don't know if it's on gravel. I think the first part of it is around this little showground, and I don't know if it's on tarmac or gravel. So that could be a gravel or grass even. I've been there once before to go to a firework night, and I drove my car on the grass, so I'm not even sure if it's on the grass or not. Then most of it's through the town centre, which is going to be, there's cobbles, there's tarmac, then in the park is a bit of a gravelly, so it's not perfectly smooth tarmac, but by myself, it's hard to motivate yourself to run 8:16 a mile, every mile by yourself for almost 2 hours. If I got thousands of people around me, plus cheering and aid stations with water and stuff, that's more realistic, more possible. I could probably do that. So a minute is my goal, just to knock it off. As long as I'm a minute quicker, I'll be happy. Forget this part of the thing so far. What I've done with my training is, last week, I think I did 20 miles in the week, because I was working and things. But in the last couple of weeks, I have done 30 miles in a week. So what I've done is, I based myself off 30, and then I added 10% on top of 30. That's not 10%, but I added on 10%, then I added on 10%, and added on 10%, and added on 10%. So it's 10% extra each week on my total miles. Then what I did was, a couple of weeks ago, I did an 8-mile run. So that's the furthest I've done so far. So 8 miles, and I've added on 10% each week as well. So my furthest run each week is 10% on top of that. So 8.8, 9.6, 10%, up and up and up, until a few weeks before, when I get to 12.9. It's not quite a half marathon. Half marathon is 13.1. You don't need to do a half marathon to be able to do half marathon. I'm sure if you could run 10 miles, you could do 13 on a race day. But you don't want to keep doing really far distances in the few days before, because you're just going to get injuries. You're not going to get any fitter 10 days before, but you will get injuries, you will overtrain, and you will use up too much carbs and things. So I've gone up to that week, a 12.9 mile run, and then I ease it off. These runs as well, hopefully they'll get a bit faster, because whatever my pace is for that run, then the next time I do that one, even though it's a bit further, I'll see how I feel and try and do the same sort of pace and try and increase it, try and add in some half marathon race pace miles. So maybe if I'm going to do 11.7 miles, I'll take it slow, say averaging 10-minute miles, but every other mile I might do an 8:15, even a bit faster than my pace. So maybe an 8-minute mile, an 8-minute mile, an 8-minute mile. Not all of them, because I don't want to do the whole distance at that speed. Just a taster, push the stuff a little bit. Also, in that week, to build up to these total mileages, I have done it on a spreadsheet where I've done 7 days a week, 1 rest day, that'll change depending on which day I'm working. But basically I've done something like week 1, 5 miles, 6 mile, 5 mile, 6 mile, up to that total mileage. Then the next week, 5.5, 6.5, 5.5, 6.5, 5.5, 6.5. The week after that, 7s, 8s, 9s. To build it up until it gets to 40, 44 miles. So far this week, I'm ahead of myself. Because that one there, I did 9.2 miles. What it was, I was going to go 4.4 miles down the canal and then turn around 4.4 miles back home. But I went about a mile out. There was a big family of swans on the canal path. They weren't moving. They were hissing and flapping their wings. So I turned around and I had to go the opposite direction. So in my head, as I was running, I had to work out how far it is from my house to the canal path, how far I've done already, so how many miles I've got to go back on myself to make it 8.8. I slightly got the miles wrong and did 9.2. Doesn't matter really. Last night I was supposed to have done 4.6 miles and I did 5. So I'm slightly ahead of myself. On Saturday I want to run another park run, which will be 3.1 miles, but I might do 5 because on the planner it says 5, so I'll add up to 5. Tomorrow I'm going to have a rest day. I was going to do a rest day on Sunday, but I got plans to do tomorrow. So tomorrow's rest day, which will be good anyway if I'm doing a park run on Saturday. Then I've Sunday means maybe 6.5 or 7 miles, but ahead of myself. So like I said, 10% further each week. My long run is going to be 10% further each week. Chuck in some 8.15 minute miles, maybe a bit faster. That's the 10%. But I might change my goal a little bit. What I've got here is my 5K times, what I've done, my 5 park run 5K times. The 2 green ones were last year. 2 different events. I did one, I think about 10 days apart. This one here was in one town, and this one here was in a different town. So there's a few hills on this one, that's a bit flatter. I had 22.54, my first ever park run, and then 10 days later, 22.46. That's 8 seconds slower. And then I've done, a couple of weeks ago, like I said, 2 park runs on the hilly section on holiday. So they're quite a lot slower, but they were hilly. And then, not Saturday, but Saturday before, I did this one here again, which is N. I'm going to do, on Saturday, this S one again. So I'm planning, because last year it was 10 days apart, and this year it's like 10 days apart, it's 8 seconds slower. So on Saturday, I'm going to try and run it 8 seconds slower, which will be 22.35, 8 seconds slower, 22.42. So instead of doing 17 minute miles, I'm going to try and average 7.19. I can't set my Garmin for, I do it in miles, not kilometers. I can't set the 3 mile cadences, speeds on my watch, because the hills aren't 1 mile up, 1 mile down. There's a little hill up, down, then you do another loop up, down, then it goes out, back, up, down. So I don't really know how I'm going to set my pace on my watch. But as long as I stay about 7.19 in total, I'm going to go for that speed. That'll beat my last year's park run time compared to the 2 towns. It won't get a personal record because it's 22.35 is my PB. But there is, I did Google what should your half marathon time be based off your 5K. I haven't done a 10K for a while, so I can't do what my 10K time would be. So at the minute I can go off that, that's my best 5K. It's quite flat. Then on Saturday, I'll push myself again and I'll see if I can get that time. And then you can work out, it's called, I saw one website it said 10%, a different website said 5%. So I'm not sure. I'll have a look again. If it's the 5% rule or the 10% rule. But basically, what you do is you take your 5k time, or your parkrun time, divide it into miles for one. So mine's 7:17 per mile. I added it up into seconds. So 7 times 60 plus 17. And then I added on 10%. So that makes it 8-minute miles. That should be my pace. I don't know. I think 8-minute miles, well, even years ago, 8:16 when I did that one, felt quite fast. 8-minute miles at the moment, I can do that. I have done it a couple of weeks ago for 6.4 miles, but can I do it for that again? Can I do 13.1 miles at 8-minute miles? I don't know. What I'm going to have to do is do these longer runs and add in a lot of 8-minute miles to see am I comfortable doing 8-minute miles for 13 of them. I'd be happy doing 149. I'd be happy even still doing 148. Can I do 145? I don't know. Maybe if I lose weight and go down to 178 or less, and if this training plan goes with no problems, no injuries, maybe. I'm in that week, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just about 6 weeks left to lose some weight. Maybe get some stretches in, get some technique in, build up my distances, build up my speed a bit. I'm not sure if that is going to be possible. It'd be really good if I could. When I did that one, I remember wanting to do 145. I thought that was doable. It was only 4 minutes quicker. But at the minute, today, if you said to me today, can I do 8-minute miles for 13? No, I can't. So that rule, based off my 5k time, might be a bit too much. We'll see on Saturday. If I do a better 5k than that, if I do something like 22:30, which would be a personal record, take off 8 seconds, which would be 22:22, that makes that pace more realistic. I don't know how accurate it is really. I don't really know, can you base a 5k time on a half marathon time? It doesn't really multiply. If you only ever run 5k fast, it doesn't mean you can run 13 miles, because when you get to 10 miles, 11 miles, 12 miles, that's when your legs start hurting, your blisters kick in, your heat, your electrolytes. I don't think to be a long distance runner, you just do short distance. I think you need to add in some distance. So it's a good base. It gives me a good starting point. I think I might need to do a couple of more 10Ks. So you can double that to get your 10K time and add on a bit. That would give me a good 10K time. And then from your 10K time, you can work out your half marathon time, a bit more accurate. And then when I know what I can do 10 miles in and 11 miles in and 12 miles in, I'll know then, am I there? Can I do that? I'm not going to do 11 or 12 miles the whole pace of that speed, but I'll just have a taste. 8-minute mile, 8-minute mile, 8-minute mile. 7:15, 7:30, 7:45. I'm also going to do a few 5 miles, 4 miles, 3 miles, maybe even 2 runs a day, like a fast 3 mile, then a slow 3 mile. Have a couple of rest days, because I don't normally have rest days. But that's my plan. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 weeks we are so far. It's not 5.5 weeks from a beginner, nothing into a half marathon. Like I said, I am doing average pretty decent times for the 5k. I can run a pretty decent 10k, like for my age. It's not beginner time, it's not professional time, but it's decent time. I can run 9 miles now without much pain or effort really. So it's only another 4 miles on top of that, which I can do. So I'm not at a 0 to 13 mile. It's from a rusty to a polishing up. sort of time. But that's what I'm going to do. Basing off my personal best, basing off my 5K time, I don't know, 148, 145, somewhere like that, I'd be happy with. As I said, the last time I went uphill, this time it might be up, down, crowds cheering you on, aid stations with drinks and the right energy drinks and stuff. I might be alright. Good playlist on my headphones. Might boost myself a little bit. Somebody to run against. If you're in a crowd of people, you get that wind aeriness. So the drafting effect, it might cycle along. I've been in 5K time runs. I've done a 10K run recently, or last year in a race. And I know that you do go a lot faster when you're in a crowd of people. I don't know how many people are entering this half marathon, but if I can get into a group of people running around that sort of time, then as long as they're not knocking me over with pushchairs or dogs, I don't know if they're allowed or not, but if I can get in them and stay in a pack, it might shade me enough to whisk along and get that effect of where you're getting free speed. As long as I'm not in my way when I want to boost myself along a little bit. One more thing to touch on. I have used my Nike trainers I'm using at the minute for quite a while now, and they've got something like 440 maybe miles, and most trainer people say 300 to 500 for a new pair of trainers. The last Nike trainers I had, which I had to throw away, were I did 1,300 miles in them before I decided they definitely had it. So these ones are 440. They're slightly wearing out on the rear outer edge where I put my foot down first. They are trail trainers, which I like, because if I buy road trainers and I run on the trail, I get punctures because the stones and the farmers cutting the hedges. So I wear trail trainers, but they are sort of getting to that sort of distance. So it might be a good time now, here, before I leave it too late, to buy some new ones, and that gets me a couple of weeks to wear them in and get used to them. Because if I start doing these mileages, it's going to be 500, 550, 600. They're going to be about 700 miles in, which is well into new territory. Might be a good time now to get some new ones before I start getting blisters on these long miles and more serious into training. But apart from that, I've got a running vest. I got some water bottles and the backpack bladder. Just buy some energy gels or electrolyte tablets. But apart from that, I don't need to buy anything else for it. It's about 20 minutes away, the half marathon is from my house. So I haven't got to go very far to it. So yeah, that's my training plan. That's what I'm going to be doing for the next couple of weeks, or basically 2 months. Increase the miles, increase the speed, increase the furthest run I do, and try and stay injury free really. And that's about it. So apart from my DIY videos, that's what most of my videos are going to be about now. I don't really take the GoPro on the runs because there's not a lot to see and do on the run. So I'll just update you how it's going. But thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and hope you're interested in the progress.